neutral. I've got myself a new project. You can kind of see it right here behind me. I need a little help on which way to go. So story is on this bike that the timing chain, which comes up here, broke. And when it broke, it caused all sorts of metal damage within the motor, and the owner was told it needs a complete motor replacement. I've been looking for a bike that I could convert to electric. So I'm trying to decide, do I go electric or do I maintain and go gas on this? Haven't quite decided. I'm kind of in the process of which one's cheaper. So I know this motor is gonna need some work. You can tell it's somewhat taken apart. So drop a note below, tell me what you think. Should I go electric or should I go gas and just do a rebuild on the motor? Let me tell you what this is. The bike is a 1996 Kawasaki KLX250, and I believe it's the 250R. I've been looking for parts. Top end, easy to find. Timing chain, easy to find. Full engine rebuild with the gears, not so easy. There's lots of KX parts out there, but this is a KLX. So first thing I'm gonna do, this previous work was all done by the owner. They were trying to decide, do they fix it or whatnot. Their mechanic said, not worth fixing, so they stripped the tires and they bought a new bike and put those tires on the new bike. What I wanna do, when I pulled this out, it sure enough had tons of metal shavings, so it is a messed up motor. How messed up is it? I need to pull it apart and find out. So my plan right now is to pull the motor off, take it apart, see what kind of damage is done in there, and then proceed accordingly. All right, so let's get this motor off and let's crack it open, see what kind of damage we got. Okay, I don't know what the torque is on those engine bolts or what superhuman put them on. They are taking some force to get off. I've got to go get some different sockets, and I'll get this off, and then you can rejoin me when I got the motor out, and we'll go from there. All right, motor's off and out of the bike, and now I need to tear this apart. I'm really hoping that the metal shavings and stuff I found is part of the case or the timing chain, but not any of the major components, because I really want to rebuild this motor so I can get it to work. But let's tear into this and see what we get. Okay, here is the motor. You can tell the piston looks really good, and talking to the guy who gave me the bike, the top end was rebuilt and had maybe 20 hours on it, so not a lot of use on the top end. I'm curious to know, was the timing chain replaced at that time? I would hope so, but I'm guessing since it broke within only 20 hours, probably not the case. Anyways, let's tear into this. I'm sure everything's metric, so I got my metric sockets, my tiny 1/4-inch wrench. Hopefully that's strong enough to pop everything off. All right, I pulled out the bags where this stuff came from. Here's the timing chain. And we get in here, you can see, let's see if I can get in here. Where's the camera at? Right here. You can see it's just snapped right in half. You know, just one of these links busted, and that chain just went whipping around inside the crank there. This is one of the chain guides. You can see just rip this puppy to shreds. It should have a little bit of wear, but I shouldn't see that metal. It should be all covered in plastic. This guy here is part of this, I'm sure. Probably up here somewhere. You can see on one of the screens, filter screens, I'm thinking this is the outlet side, this is the inlet, and you can see all these metal shavings, just tons of metal shavings. those match what I see right here. So this will sit in here, probably connected to that guy, and then you adjust your tension on the timing chain right here. So when that timing chain broke, oh look, it's busted a piece there, piece here, probably went whipping around down in here and just ate this side of the crankcase, or the bottom end of this motor. To me, it's looking like that's really the only damage. These gears look really good. All right, there's a good shot of it. You can see those teeth are worn. So that right there would also be part of the metal shavings I see. Just right there. That gear, which is the timing chain gear, is just buggered up. So there's the damage on the case. See, it's real shiny. And then those teeth, these other teeth look really good. All right, that is all for tonight. Torn the engine apart. I believe it's rebuildable, so I'm gonna go that route. My one hang up is, it looks like those timing chain gears are tied to the crank, and so that means I gotta replace the crank. I haven't been able to find one yet, but now that I for sure believe I need one, I'm gonna go down that road, see how much I can get it for, where I can get it. This is a 1996 Kawasaki, so the parts are getting a little hard to find. Hopefully I can find a new crank for it with those gears. If I can, I'm all in on bringing this back, restoring it back to its prime and exciting stuff. So that's my plan. See if I can go get parts. Stay tuned. Okay, I think I have all the parts to get this motor stripped apart and back together, and let's get at it.
One of the hardest things to do when working on a motorcycle engine is when you crack the case apart. Now, it's probably not the hardest thing to do, but it is the thing that scares me the most because I'm terrified I'm going to wreck the case, and it just terrifies me. So what I would say is just go slow. You're not in a hurry. Make sure you have all the components apart, or all the bolts undone, and everything's ready to split it and come apart, and just go slow. Work at it. Don't try and pry too hard at any given time, or you'll bend the case, or you'll make it so the parts don't come back together very good. So just take your time. It is nerve-wracking, it is scary, but you got this. You can do it.
All right, I'm almost there. Got the case apart. Now I'm just trying to get that crank out, because the crank is bad, but I'm having a heck of a time pounding on it. Doesn't seem like it's gonna budge. So let me show you what I found. It's definitely got some foreign materials in there. Let's take a look. So you can see right down in here, lots of foreign materials. I also got those pieces out. I believe they are remnants of the chain tensioner for the timing chain that just got ground up, and all sorts of pieces in there. You can see how dirty this is. A lot of that's dirty oil, but it's also mixed with some metal from the wear and the issues that the timing chain breaking caused. So this is the bad crank. If you look at these teeth, you can see best spot is right there. These teeth right here are really worn. There's no way they would be catching the chain. Try and get you a good picture so you can see. Not really great, but those two right in the middle on the bottom are just completely worn and ground down. So that's why I got to change out the crank. The rest of the gears are looking good. I do want to get them out. I want to completely clean up this this half of the case and that half of the case. I'm going to clean it all up, make sure there's no foreign materials, and then lube everything up really good. So I think I have bought all the parts I'm going to need. barring I don't smack a hole in the case trying to get that stupid crank out. I don't see a way I can put a puller on it. I think I just need to pound it. Maybe I could heat up the outside with my torch a little bit and then it'll pop out. I don't know, but I got a few more minutes to work on it, and then I'm going to take a break for the day and get back at it. Okay, I've got the case apart in two pieces. Let me show you what I gotta do to finish it up. So I've got it pretty much as clean as I could. The new crank is here with the good teeth. What I'm gonna do is just hit these edges with sandpaper. It's a really fine grit, just a 600 grit. What I wanna do is just get the rest of this, get it cleaned up, but get any of the remaining Yamabond or sealant that they used on here. I'm using Yamabond, but I'm gonna just hit it just lightly. I don't want to sand the metal. I just want to make sure I get all the gasket off. And so that's my next step, and then I'll do a final cleaning, and then we'll worry about mating this in here and getting it back together. Okay, now that I have the two pieces of the case put back together, I used Yamabond between them to bond them together, and then you leave it for 24 hours. It's pretty much been 24 hours now. I'm not gonna be adding oil yet. I've still got other components I need to put on this. So that's what we're gonna do. You can see I've got the clutch in place, bolted in, and all the gears here. I think I'm ready to put the magneto on and work on that side before I put the two cases on. And let me show you what else I got going on here. I got the timing chain guides in place. I've just taped this up temporarily so it doesn't bind up in here anywhere. Anyways, I got the gears all in place on this side. So I'm gonna flip it over and we're gonna put the magneto on, which is wrapped up right here because I just cleaned it. I don't want it to get any dirty. Okay, so I got my magneto on, or my flywheel. I call it the magneto. Some people call it the flywheel, and that's probably the magneto. At any rate, I got this all cleaned up, case is on, ready to get this on. I just took some time, cleaned this up. I pulled everything out, cleaned everything. Cut this wiring cover was really brittle. I do have some heat shrink I might put on it, but that would require me to kind of redo some ends, and I don't really want to do that. So I'll probably just retape it with some electrical wire, but we'll get to that in a minute. What I'm going to do for the gasket is I have some contact cement. I'm going to put some contact cement on here. Not on here, on the gasket. I'll stick it in place, pull it off just for a second, put it back on. That way it'll leave my gasket in place so I can slide my flywheel cap on and then bolt it in. That way I know the gasket's not going to move. All right, before I put this cover on, I've got to address the timing cable here so I can make sure I have it up around the valves okay. In order to do that, I'm going to take the top of this valve cover off. I have a new gasket. I also know that the valves are not where they need to be, but in order to get the timing right, I'm going to have to have this off. I've gone ahead and cleaned most of this up. I can hear something banging around in here. I'm sure it's plastic from the old timing chain guide. I also had on this side, it was pretty messed up as far as from the chain up there. It messed up this case piece, and so I just hit it with a grinder, with a sanding wedge on the grinder to just kind of smooth that out. I have a gasket for here, so I'm not too worried about it not being flush or flat. Hopefully the gasket will make up any difference that I had to take off. So let's go ahead and pull the top off this and get this ready to check the timing and get the timing chain set. All right, we are ready for the new piston and top head. This will slide in, but I've got to have the piston ready to go first, which means I got to get the rings on it. Best way to do rings, put one end in and then roll the other end right together like so. So let me do this guy now. Yeah, I got my spring lock in there. Now I got to line up my arrow to the front of the motor, put it in place. I'm also going to take some oil and put a little bit of oil in here. Put this bad boy up. One thing you want to do is you want to make sure your different piston compression points are not the same. So just give them a twist, make sure they're not in the same place.
Unfortunately, as I was putting these together, the head would not seat into the case body of the engine. And I got looking, and you can see the different diameter sizes of the two different heads, the old one on the right and the new one on the left. Since it didn't fit, I had to come up with another option. Working with the company I bought the head from, really wasn't an option. I looked at the old one. It still looked good. It only had 20 hours on it, so it was pretty new. And unfortunately, I didn't go with the new one. I opted to just revert back to the old one. Hopefully that works out. So here I am. I'm taking the old head and the old piston, putting them back in. Really simple process. Just slides right in. Just make sure the timing chain is coming out the top like it should. Then I added the timing chain tensioner bars. I was just putting everything together.
So you can see I just have the timing chain here, holding it with my screwdriver just so it doesn't fall back down in there. I still do have the side off so I can easily get to the chain. I have been able to reach in there with a tool. So I've got to take these valves off. There's a bolt here I can't get on, and then I believe there's some other bolts here. And why do I think that? Because I still have 3 long bolts I've got to get in here.
Okay, so then this is me putting on the cams, and the cams will push the valves down when the timing is proper. But if you looked at the manual, which I did show previously, and then I start putting this together, I'm doing it backwards. So spoiler alert, this is kind of mess up what I try to do later. But I did do this backwards. I put the exhaust side on the intake side and the intake side on the exhaust side. So I am going to have to fix that. And spoiler alert, the bike doesn't run if you got the timing wrong, which I do have. So anyways, we'll continue on. I don't realize it until later.
All right, I got that cleaned up pretty good. I'm gonna lube this up and set it on. I can't bolt it down. I'll probably put a few finger tight just to keep it in place. But I've got a new chain guide coming in here because this one connection was completely ripped off. This one was gone, and this one was the only one holding it on. I didn't want that to become a problem, so I got a new one coming. Should be here tomorrow. So let's put that on. I already got my new part. Let's open that up. Just going to take all these out. I want to be careful. I don't want my chain to come out of timing. And I've got to remember how these go. A few of these are longer than the others. This one and this one are longer.
So I'm just going to zip through some of this. It's basically putting everything back together, getting the valves put on with the cap, making sure the bolts are torqued down properly, and just making sure I got all my T's crossed and I's dotted. And I don't know. I'm not sure if I like just speeding through this or if I should just cut and fade in, fade out. I myself, I kind of like seeing the speed process so you can see, hey, this is how everything is going back together. But I'm curious what you guys think as the viewers. Would you rather I just cut out a lot of this speed stuff, just cut it out and fade in, fade it out to the different sequence, or do you like me speeding through it here? I sure would love the feedback. At any rate, I'm going to be just speeding through this. I do look at the manual a little bit and different diagrams that I print out. And then once I have the engine put back together, you're going to see me throw it up on the bike and then put the new tires on. I did grab my son to have me kind of lift the bike as I put in the rear axle. It's not a one-man job.
All right, I got the dirt bike in the garage. It is cold, thus I got my beanie on and my work jacket. We've got to get this thing fired up today. I just need to tighten up some bolts, put in some fluids, coolant, and oil, and we should be ready to fire this up. So let's get to it. All right, everything is tightened down. Fluids are in it, oil, antifreeze, coolant, and some brake fluid at the top off. I'm going to spin this around so I'm pointing out, and then let's fire it up, see if we work.
Uh-oh.
So let's just pause here for a second. You remember how I told you I had the timing backwards? Well, a bike will not run if the timing is wrong. I know the timing's wrong because I went back and looked at what I did, and I also verified that that I do have spark I do have fuel getting into the carburetor, so I'm pretty sure that my timing's off. Therefore, I don't have any vacuum, and I'm not getting any spark at the right time. So I'm going to end the video here, and I'm going to go back, probably do another series on how I fix the timing and get this bike running. So stay tuned, and I'll see you soon.